Hey, what's going on, guys? Doing another video this afternoon. Going to install the HappiJac tie-down system onto my 2019 Ram 2500. I've got the Brophy tie-down setups on there at the moment. Don't like them, so I'm going to swap those out. We're going on a trip to Nashville next week, so I'd prefer to have this, but this is what the box looks like when it comes in. Comes with that box, this rod, and some instructions here. Nothing too crazy. All right, first things first is to screw down these numbered 10 by 3/4 inch sheet metal screws into this hole and this hole. I'm going to use the screwdriver first, and then I'm going to use the socket to tighten them down. It's a 10mm socket. Just socket tighten that one. That's probably honestly what I'll do for all of these. I'm going to go ahead and do that to both sides now. All right, next up, we're going to attach these frame braces using Kit C. We're only going to finger tighten them. We're not going to tighten them up all the way. So we're just going to get these set up in here. I'm just going to put all the hardware together, even though it's just finger tight. Just going to throw everything on here as if though I was putting it together so I don't lose it later. So each one has a flat washer and then a locking washer. I'm just going to do finger tight. Perfect. Then we're going to do this on both sides. So I'm going to be right back. I'm going to do this on the other side as well. All right, at this point, I've got this centered between left and right side. I'm going to drill a 3/32 hole. I'm going to do it right here in this oblong hole. And then same on the other side. It says, the guide says you can do one or you can do both. So you can either do this one or this one. I think I'm just going to do this one actually. Do the outer edge one, and then we'll screw in our little pilot screws here just to hold it up, and then we'll take those off and then mount it back on. So I'll be right back with that. All right, so I kind of went ahead and did a pilot drill and just drilled this little bitty screw in first to make my life easier. I already did the other side. So I'm just going to lift this guy up here. Just barely snug it on there. It's just there to hold it up at the moment. So next we're going to drill 7 16 inch holes through this hole here, and then same underneath on both sides. And then once we're done with that, we'll install the back plate. So go ahead and get this started. All right, so at this point, I've gotten all 4 holes drilled out on both sides. Another thing I did to prep this to get installed was I found the bolts from Kit B again, and I pre-screwed them through these because there's paint up in these threaded areas up here. So the paint right there was still brand new, so I went ahead and threaded the bolts through here just to kind of give it a guide, because now we're going to go ahead and stick it through the back side here, and then we'll bolt the guide plates on, the bracer plate, and then we'll get the bracket put on the back. All right, up next we're going to attach this backing bracket to the front anchor plate using the 1/4 inch self screws that were provided in hardware kit J. It does say to make sure that the short flange hinge, this side here, is pointed towards the hook area. So we'll set this down, flip it over, and then we'll attach those with the 1/4 inch self-tapping screws. One done. I'm going to do the other one now, and then we'll jump to the next step. I failed to record this section of the installation, but I'm going to talk through it with this picture. What you need is 2 people. One will go underneath and then push this backer plate up and align it with the 4 holes we just drilled. The other is going to get in the bed of the truck and then go ahead and use one of the bolts and try to push it through and thread one corner loosely and then go ahead and work your way around and get the other 3 threaded. Once you get all 3 threaded, you can then tighten it down. Okay, so we got these installed last night. And I'm going to tell you, it was not as easy as it sounds. The issue we ran into is I had this trim piece that's down here was running up on the inside of here, and for the life of me, I couldn't get this to be lifted up into here. And struggled with it for about 25 minutes before I realized, oh, maybe I should take out the trim piece, and then it went in smooth as butter. But it is kind of a pain in the butt to get these holes to line up correctly on the other side. As you can see, there's a lot of sweaty forehead prints on this. Just trying to get that in there. But once you get that plate slid up, you get that plate slid up in there. Get it to focus. Once you get it slid up in there, you get those locked in, you can suck it down tighter. It's not too bad. We're on to the next step, and it calls for measuring a center line across this, finding out where your center line is going to be over here, and then measuring 1 inch off this end corner, and then installing off that 2 screws or bracer screws into that plate in the back, 1 3/4 inches off that center line. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to measure over here. I'm going to measure over, get the center, then do 1 3/4 inches up, 1 3/4 inches down, and then drill those in. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I'm going to do that to both sides. Alrighty, got these installed on both sides. Not too bad. Just takes a minute to measure it out and get it squared up right. Alright, next step on this is going to be adding the anchor bolts that actually tie this into the frame. So the directions say to measure 3 inches off from the cab or back of the bed here. 3 inches off the back of the bed, drill straight down, and it should hit the center of the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and get those drilled with my 3/8 inch bit, and then we'll get this installed, and I'll show you what that looks like once I get these holes drilled. All right, so I've got the hole drilled, 3/8 inch hole, bolt stuck through the frame down there. I'm going to jump underneath, show you what that looks like. Comes with this plate, a regular washer, lock washer, and a nut. All right, so as you can see, that came out perfectly dead center of the frame there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw on those parts that I showed you, get this tightened down, show you what it looks like afterwards. Then we'll go ahead and do the other side. And then I'll wrap up the framework here. So this is what it looks like once it's all installed underneath. You've got that bolted to the frame, and you've got your 4 bolts up there holding that in. The backer plate, and then you got those 2 screws coming in on the backer plate, and your anchor sticks out the side there. At this point, I'm working on installing the rear mounting brackets. Directions say to go 8 inches back, 4 inches down, so that's where this is at. Start with a 1/8 inch pilot hole and then drill it to a 1/2 inch. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to go ahead and get this rear installed, and I'm going to do this on both sides and show you what it looks like. All right, just wanted to show you what this looks like done. So this is put in here and tightened up. All you got to do is take this, slide it through your 1/2 inch hole, reach around on the back side, throw on this washer, then the locking washer, and then your nut 19mm socket will tighten it down. Do that to the other side too, and then I'll be done with this. I just want to give you guys a helpful trick. These are supposed to stay, the flat end's supposed to stay horizontal to the ground. So I had to go in, this one's a little off, so I'm just going to tilt it just a hair bit there. Just to have that pipe wrench on the outside holding that level, and then tightening for the socket underneath. That'll get you where you need to be. Last step is to install the center guide locks and bumpers. To do that, we're just going to throw this guy into here. This bolt goes through the top. This washer is going to go on the end. We're going to stick it through the block here. And we'll go up to this guy back here. We'll stick this in, screw that down, tighten it up to that, and then center it based on where we're going to have our camper set in the back of the truck. Okay, so once you get the center guide lock or bumper put together, you know, this is what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. I'm going to go ahead and mount this into here, angle it to the back right there, and then shove it in like so. I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, so I've got both of them put in now. So I got left and right. Now what I'll do is I'll back the camper into here, adjust these, and then tighten them down as they see fit so that the camper sits center up against this. And then once that's done, I'll go ahead and screw those last bits in, but that's the last piece you got to do to get this installed. So here's what this looks like installed in the truck. I used some old turnbuckles that came with the camper when I bought it, but I did end up ordering the HappiJac turnbuckles to use on this, so I'll show a picture of what that looks like later, maybe in the comments. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, please just add them to the comments and I can answer them. Have a good day.